Hey guys, it's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to film a very exciting video. A video that I have been dying to film all week and I'm so excited to finally be here to share it with you. If you've been on my channel for a while, then you might know that there are two things that I love so very much in this world. The first being Sarah J. Maas's books. Second being building conspiracies and theorizing around Sarah J. Maas's books, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. I'm really excited to share with you my theories for A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I guess this could also be considered A Court of Wings and Ruin theories. I did just finish my reread of ACOWAR, so it's very fresh in my mind, and there are a lot of things that I hope we see in this third book and that I hope will come to fruition. And one of them is one of my biggest theories, and I cannot wait to talk about it. I'm so attached to it. So I don't think I need to say this here, but just in case you aren't aware, this is going to include spoilers for both ACOWAR and ACOWAR. And there are not going to be spoils for Throne of Glass, specifically Empire Storms, but I am going to touch on just a few things that I mentioned in my Empire Storms book talk, but it's nothing that's going to spoil that series for you. If you haven't read both books in ACOWAR, I highly recommend you not continue watching this. So I think upon finishing this book, one of the biggest questions people had is, what the heck is Amren? What is she? I have two theories for Amren. One of them has a ton more evidence than the other one, but let's just get a little background on what exactly Amren is and why she has so many theories about her. On page 194, we get a pretty good description of what Amren is, or at least a bit of her backstory. This is when Rhys and Feyre are getting ready to go into the prison to consult with the bone carver. And Rhys tells Feyre that Amren was once imprisoned in this particular prison. How long was she in there? And Rhys replies, Azriel looked once into archives in our oldest temples and libraries. All he found was a vague mention that she went in before Prythian was split into the courts and emerged once they had been established. Her imprisonment predates our written word. I don't know how long she was in here. A few millennia seems like a fair guess. And then later in the book, they do mention that she's at least 5,000 years old, so she's old as fuck. And then Feyre asks, where did she come from? And Rhys replies, I don't know, though there are legends that claim when the world was born, there were rips in the fabric of the realms, that in the chaos of forming, creatures from other worlds could walk through one of those rips and enter another world. But the rips closed at will, and the creatures could become trapped with no way home. Lots and lots of things here. We know that she's very, very, very old, that she came from some other world through a rip in the folds of time, which to me sounds a lot like a word gate, but we'll get to that in a minute. She's the only one to be known like her. We also learn that she is more powerful than the Fae. So not only is she older than the Fae, but she is more powerful than the Fae. So this is kind of where we start to get into the conspiracies. There are two big conspiracies that I see circulating a lot, and the first one is that Amren is a dragon. This is a theory that I thought really heavily upon reading this the first time, and that's because one of the most common staples of dragon lore is that they hoard treasure. I mean, look at Smaug from the Hobbit movies. That dragon hoarded like mounds and mounds of treasure. Rhys often buys jewelry for Amren. Her apartment is covered in jewels. She loves shiny things, very attracted to shiny things, and very possessive of her shiny things. Dragons could potentially be older than Fae. I mean, there are no dragons in either Sarah J. Maas's series. She just have wyverns, which are pretty much dragons. They don't use the word dragon. Is she different than a wyvern? Is a dragon more powerful than a wyvern? We have no other mention of dragons anywhere else in her series, and the only reason that people, I think, really latch on to this particular idea is the fact that she is obsessed with treasure. But then she also feeds on blood, which doesn't really, in my mind, fit with the dragon. I mean, I don't really know what dragons feed on. We meet Abraxos, which is a wyvern. It's just the closest thing we have to a dragon in the Throne of Glass series, and he eats like sheep, whole animals, so I mean, I guess that he's consuming blood while he does that. That's like the main thing for the dragon conspiracy, and it's the one that I was very for a majority of this book. But upon reading Empire Storms when that was released in September and rereading this book this month, I have another theory that's been kind of circulating in my brain that I feel like is way more possible. And that is that Amren is a goddess, particularly one of the Throne of Glass goddesses. I've kind of thought that she was a goddess for a very long time. Kind of meet a goddess in Empire Storms. Get to see a little bit of Deanna, which is one of the Throne of Glass goddesses, and she's described as having silver eyes and like silver moonlight hair and being very pale because she's like the huntress goddess, I think. So initially we're like, whoa, she's described as having silver eyes. What's the only other character in Sarah J. Maas's worlds that have silver eyes? Amren has silver eyes. So has Deanna also been trapped in Ameren's body for millennia before she was trapped in Throne of Glass, or vice versa? Was she in one before the other? Is she just one of those kinds of goddesses that's way too curious and is often trapped in things? But upon reading this further, I actually think that Ameren could be a different goddess entirely. Although the silver eyes kind of make you wonder, I don't think she's Deanna. However, let me get into the good stuff, shall we? Okay, I'm very, very excited about this, okay? I'm gonna walk you through the steps and how I formulated this theory. We're on page 573. This is the Battle of Valeris. During one of our brief breaks, he told me what Amren had done on her side of the river. With her dark power, she had spun illusions straight into the soldiers' minds. They believed they had fallen into the Sidra and were drowning. They believed they were flying 1,000 feet above and had dived, fast and swift, for the city, only to find the street mere feet away. The crueler ones, the wickedest ones, she had unleashed their own nightmares upon them until they died from terror, their hearts giving out. But that's a pretty good description of her powers, right? I was like, huh. Since I always thought she's a Throne of Glass goddess, let's go on to Throne of Glass Wikia and look up the goddesses if she falls into any of the categories. You know, I've used this website before. Like I mentioned, I talked about this in my Empire Storms review. I used this exact website, so I pulled it back up, and I had noticed that since September when I made that review, and now somebody went in and edited this page. And they edited it to match the theory that I had put up in my Empire Storms review, which is another thing entirely. There is a pretty lengthy description for each of the gods, like a good paragraph or so. But then there's this one god named Lani, and this is all it says. Little is known about Lani except that she is the goddess of dreams. I am dead. There's no edit to her name like there are for the rest of them. That feeds into my conspiracy theory for Empire Storms. So it makes me wonder, is Lani potentially not that well known in Throne of Glass? Maybe they don't really worship her and they don't have a lot of information about her because she's not in the Throne of Glass world. What if every other god and goddess got stuck in Throne of Glass except for Lani, who somehow got stuck in the ACOWAR world? Huh? That would explain why she is so much older than all the other characters, why she's so much more powerful than all the other characters, and to further my argument, let's talk about evidence I found. I'm very, very excited about this. I'm so fangirling on the inside, you have no idea. I started thinking that she is Lani, not Deanna. Hello, she is the goddess of dreams. Where does Amren work? The Court of Dreams. What the actual fuck? How is that not a huge red flag? She's thousands, hundreds of years old. She gets stuck in Prithian. She could literally work for any of the High Lords. She could work for anybody, but she was drawn to the Night Court, specifically the Court of Dreams. She is the second in command of the frickin' Court of Dreams, people. It's not a far reach to say that she is the goddess of dreams, being that she's the second in command of the Dream Court. I mean, come on. Do I need to go further than that? I don't think so, but I will. So these powers, she specifically uses the word nightmares. You know, that she is giving these soldiers that she's tormenting their worst possible nightmares. How would she know what their worst possible nightmares are if she's not the goddess of dreams? How would she be able to feed into that if she doesn't have some kind of ability to sense people's nightmares and dreams? You know, I mean, just feel like that's a very specific word choice. Not hallucinations, not fears, not illusions, nightmares. Let's continue. For some more evidence, I think that she's actually from the Throne of Glass world because we're all waiting for that crossover. I mean, come on, people. She has 2 series about high fae-like characters. I just feel like it's totally a missed opportunity if she doesn't somehow cross them. It doesn't have to be a major character, an artifact, or a minor character. There has to be something. She says they exist in the same mega universe, parallel worlds, and you could very easily open a word gate from Throne of Glass and travel to Prithian. I'm sorry, but when you have portal magic that can send you through folds in time to other realms, how do you not capitalize on that and connect her 2 series in some way? As Throne of Glass was getting ready to end, Sarah J. Maas had this huge announcement that we're going to get 4 more books in the ACOWAR world. Suspicious. This is also a great example of why I think that Amren is a goddess from Throne of Glass. On page 353, this is right after they have Amren and Feyre have traveled to the Summer Court. They're in the temple trying to retrieve the book, and the temple locks them in and they start to drown. Feyre reaches the door, sliding the box into the white inside pocket of her leather jacket, while Amren's blazing palm, flattened against the door, burning, heating the metal, swirls and whirls, radiating out through it as if they were a language all her own. And then the door burst open. What does that sound like to you? To me, it sounds like word marks. Word marks are known for opening ward gates and sealing doors and opening doors. Like, this is not an uncommon thing. We see this a lot in Throne of Glass. Not to mention that Amren is the only character in the entirety of ACOTAR and ACOMAF that's ever mentioned to be able to create weird swirling symbols with her palm. And on 359, they have just returned back to the house after stealing the book. And Moore asks, what language is that? I thought Amren's hands might have been shaking, but she shoved them into her pockets. It is no language of this world. Only Rhys was unfazed by the shock on her face, as if he'd suspected what the language might be, why he had picked her to be a part of this hunt. What is it then? Azriel asked. He stared and stared at the book as if it were a ghost, as if it were a miracle, and said, it is the Leshon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue. The Holy Tongue. Gods and goddesses are pretty religious in most societies, and Amren's the only one that can read the Holy Tongue. Rhys-Anne said, I heard a legend that it was written in the tongue of mighty beings who feared the cauldron's power and made the book to combat it. Mighty beings who were here and then vanished. You are the only one who can uncode it. We know that Amren is not of this world. She's the only one who can read a holy text in a language that no one in Prythian can read, except for Amren, who happens to not be a goddess. So you're gonna tell me I call bullshit on that one. So let's recap a little bit about why Amren is definitely Lonnie, the dream goddess. First of all, she is in the Court of Dreams as the second in command of the Court of Dreams, so that one is a pretty obvious one right there. She is from another world, another land. She's freaking old AF, older than the Fae. We don't really know the extent of her powers, only that we've seen her pull nightmares out of people's minds. Sounds a bit like a dream goddess power in my opinion. Also, she creates these weird swirling marks with her palms and can open doors that way, like a word mark. I mean, also, the rift in the fold of time could be a word gate, and maybe they just don't use the word gate. So I feel like there is a lot more evidence to support that she is the dream goddess and not Diana or a dragon. I wanted to know if anybody else had thought of this theory. Anybody else piece this together? Am I reading like really into this? Am I taking it too far? Do you think that this is really plausible? I mean, I think that she's a goddess. So even if she's not Lonnie, I still think she's a goddess, but I just feel like Lonnie fits so well. Anybody else pick up on this? Is it just me? Am I totally crazy? I would love to know. Tell me if you thought of this in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I'll talk to you very soon. Bye!